Take 5 with RICOVIBES, the ultimate in entertainment. Live interviews, social commentary, and so much more. Go tell somebody you're now locked into Take 5 with RICOVIBES. This episode of Take 5 with RICOVIBES is brought to you by
Join us this and every Sunday for Memory Lane Sundays at Premier Restaurant and Lounge, featuring music by some of Atlanta's top DJs, playing the best oldies but goodies. Complimentary chicken with rice and peas with drink purchase. Doors open 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. sharp. Free parking, free admission, and free food. Dining, drinking, dancing, and hookahs each and every Sunday at Memory Lane Sundays. Inside Premier Restaurant and Lounge, 6924 Main Street in Lithonia.
What's up, everybody? It's yours truly, RICOVIBES, and welcome to Take 5 with my special guest, Mr. SHAWN from DEMROC Clothing.
Yes, sir.
I should say DEMROC Conglomerate because he's DEMROC just about everything.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Welcome.
Thanks.
It's been how many years in the making?
Quite a few.
Quite a few, but nothing happens before it's time, right?
Exactly.
All right. Talk about DEMROC. At what point did you get started?
So in 2005.
2005.
I was messing around with graphics. Well, I started doing graphics in like 2001.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2005, I was messing around with doing T-shirts design and stuff like that. I was like, man, it would be cool to, design T-shirts for a company, right?
Right.
So after that thought hit me, I'm like, man, I could do this for myself. So the following year is when I came up with a name. So since 2006, DEMROC Clothing been in existence.
Is that a takeoff of where you're from? You're from Guyana. Is DEMROC a place in Guyana?
Yeah, it's Demerara, which is the river, one of the major rivers we have there.
Right.
And I'm from the town called Linden, but within Linden we have Wizrock.
Got it.
So I use Dem and Rock from there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Was it always a clothing that you were interested in, other than the graphics?
It started out with graphics, and then when the idea hit me, then it's started becoming more believable. And during that time, I was stuck on the Rockaware, which was Jay-Z.
Was it Jay-Z?
Sean John
back in those times too?
Yeah, Sean John.
And
so I was wearing a lot of those.
Right.
So just knowing that, I was stuck on that, and because I always had a certain style.
Gotcha.
So when the idea hit me, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I can do this. If these black brothers can do it, then I can do it.
Where did you start it? Was it in Guyana? Was it here?
No, it was here.
Was here
in Georgia.
In Georgia? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So from 2005, 06 until now, when did you branch out and get into like a brick and mortar type of store?
That was 2018.
Okay.
2018 started there, and currently, I actually moved from there, moving to another location in a couple of months.
Gotcha.
So I was there for about 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, for about 5 years.
Talk about the music, or talk about the other branches, I should say, of DEMROC.
Well, I'm the type of person, like, as you know, once you have a name, once you have a brand, you have to represent it on all levels.
Correct.
And no matter what you get into, it always got to be a certain standard.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So the music thing now, back in 2003, I started to, the interest of like helping my country artists, Guyana, started to develop stronger because there was such a need, and still is a need.
Wow.
And I started like managing, and then I eventually get into the studio recording. So I was partnered with this other guy with the record label.
Okay.
That lasted for quite a few years. Branched off from him in 2015 or something like that. And I started doing a project called Rep 592, which is, the compilation album, comprises of all Guyanese artists. And I started that in 2016. And that in itself, like, took whatever it is that I was doing to a whole nother level, because the more I did the projects is the more I started to like discover new talent and all this stuff. So we've been struggling as a country, like musically, not necessarily talent, but struggling to get to a certain level. And what I noticed was a lot of artists, they were being abused, right? And I'm talking about way back then. We had these artists that they're doing things and not being paid, or they just being paid just, just a thank you. And I mean, I had some experience where I was managing some guys and I had to deal with the promoter on a certain level, not in a disrespectful way, but he more disrespected me. Like, why are you asking for money from these guys? When artists start asking for money, they don't get called. Stuff like that, experiencing stuff like that, it caused me to really like, you know what, these guys need direction.
Gotcha.
Right. Gotcha. And because I started that project, I'm up to volume 9 now.
Whoa.
Yeah. The last week I dropped volume 9. So instead of me doing 1 per year, I started doing 2 projects in January and July. I would do every 6 months. And I started doing that a couple of years ago. I started, increasing it to 2. So the popularity has increased tremendously.
That's what's up. Wow.
So in 2016, during that time, I was thinking about doing an award, but at that time, they weren't ready in terms of the production. The talent was always there. So fast forward last year, I said, you know what? This is the time to do it. This is the time to do it. And I did it virtually, and it was a huge success. And this year, I'm doing a physical location, December 16th in New York. Wow. Right. So it just went from one level to the next. Wow. And I have a lot of support, but yet I still, don't get the support from the ones that can do.
Isn't that always the case?
The ones that can really do,
right.
I don't get the support.
Gotcha.
So it's just one of those things. Just gotta keep pushing.
Wow. But I notice you have like a Jimmy and those guys. It comes under the umbrella as well. How many DJs do you have under the umbrella?
So basically, this had to be in 2007 or 8, I believe it was. Jimmy was like, "Hey man," because he was actually at my mother's house, and I went there for something, and I saw him, and I remember seeing him based off of him, being in the around, thing, and then GT5 is my cousin, so we spoke for a while. And he said, "Yo, I really like that name. Can I start using it for my sound?"
Right.
So he been using DEMROC music since 2000, like for a while, for many years.
Wow.
For many years. So so that's how that connection happened. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, when I go on your website and stuff, I see the different variety of stuff, merchandise. What's your biggest seller?
My biggest seller is everything that is not Guyana. Everything that doesn't say Guyana.
Wow.
Everything that doesn't say Guyana. Sad to say, but everything that doesn't say Guyana.
That's surprising.
It's just something I had to, get over.
Yeah.
And, you stop forcing the issue of, oh, it's my countrymen and they're going to support. Yeah. But I do get support, but I cannot say that, most of my stuff that I sell is Guyana related.
Gotcha.
So my brand is DEMROC Clothing.
Gotcha.
And some people would say, oh, there's a Guyana brand. Yes, technically it is a Guyana brand, but people would think that I would make so much stuff with Guyana. I kind of ease up doing that. I have quite a few things that say Guyana, but I don't really like push that agenda, I should say, of doing so much Guyana related stuff.
That's kind of surprising. But you've done so much. You've done the music, you've done the awards, you've done, what's next in your repertoire?
I feel my ability, I should say, my ability is so wide that I have to sometimes back up a little bit and don't like spread myself too thin because of support. These things that I do, I've been doing myself for many, many years, right? So my plan is to continue to branching out and expanding on the clothing side, the music side, and eventually, fuse the two where it's evident.
Got it.
So I'm talking about dealing with the musicians, the artists, them, try to brand them. Instead of them having other stuff on in the videos. That's one of my ultimate goals is to brand them. So we haven't gotten to that part yet.
Right.
Some guys I work with, but I'm not forcing it, and I'm not pushing it yet until it's like on auto.
So if folks want to get your stuff now that you're in between stores, I should say, how can they get your merchandise?
My website,
DEMROC,
DEMROC.com, DEMROC, or DEMROCClothing.com. Same way. Just not have a physical location yet, but hopefully I can get that back up and running in another couple months at a new location, bigger and better. Yes, excited about that.
Is a brick and mortar store important in this age of online sales and all that?
So. That's a very, 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 very good question, and I had to really look at it before I actually got the store, and it made sense on many levels for me. Recognition, accessibility, and all that stuff was very important for me, and for any brand, I should say, because some people, browsing the website and all this. I want to come and touch and feel and see and try on and these things. So that in itself, it took my brand to a whole nother level. Having a store, plus I did photography in there. I did. I mean, it was a big space. There's no regrets. There's no regrets, but there are just sometimes that things happen where you have no control over a certain situation, so you gotta move on to
something you gotta take a step backwards to take 2 steps forward. Right. When I see your models, is all your models are all of them Guyanese or
no?
No, because you have some really pretty models and stuff. But I just wondered if that's one of the criterias. You have to be Guyanese to model DEMROC clothing. No, definitely not. No, you see with the music, because the attention and so much, the attention to detail for the music side, and I stuck on just dealing with Guyanese is because it's needed. Gotcha. We need that attention. The music side needs exposure. Yeah. So my focus is there. But when it comes to the clothing side of it, no, there's no only Guyanese model. No, no, definitely not. What do you want folks to know? And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because of course I've been admiring your work for a while. You're an entrepreneur. You're in the diaspora of where I'm at as well. For up and coming designers, up and coming business men, women, what do you think is the most important lesson you can teach them?
The most important thing for me is when I came up with the name, I pretty much kept it to myself for about 2 years. Right? So it's until like 2008-ish is when I started like making it known. And that's because you don't want to be so excited that you telling this person, that person, because remember now, you're not really solid in what you came up with, because if your personality is very weak, then somebody might say, that's not your style. You're not into fashion like that. You think it's gonna work, and it can break people. So my thing is, be solid in what you doing, and love what you're doing. And not everything you have to be so excited about. Sometimes you just have to like really restrain yourself from going out, because you're like, man, I'm so excited about this. But you have to hold back, because people out there, they're ready and willing and able to
pull you down. And if they can't do it themselves, they can get other people to do it.
And it's normally your own people. It's normally your own people. That's the sad part about it.
You know?
As a businessman, we can share stories, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's one of those things where you look at the world and look at the power that some individuals might have. You know, like, you know, certain situation that's happening with, you know, past president and stuff like that. When you get certain power, you really have to understand how to use it.
Right.
Because you feel so big and mighty that you don't think nothing can pull you down. Yeah. So I say that to say, be humble in everything that you do. Yeah. And I always say to people, do not miss your opportunity to lead.
Gotcha.
When you're in the position to be impactful and to lead a nation, a community, an environment, wherever you are, because at some point, somebody else is going to come along and started really doing things that you were supposed to do, and now the hatred come. Oh, she ain't doing it like she's supposed to do, and then they're going to call this person and say, what are they doing? I could do better. Right. You had the opportunity to do it, but you chose not to, because you don't think that, you know, it was a part of, you know, being a leader. You know, so I am very big. I'm very, very big on leadership, mentorship, every ship that you can think of, because we have generations of kids that's coming up. And one of the big thing of why I'm taking this music thing serious is that we have a lot of artists that have, well, not a lot, but, you know, we have quite a few artists that have kids. And you would hear them saying things like, man, I'm not going to let my child be an artist, you know? And you have to really look at the deep side of this. Now, if they don't want their kids to be an artist, then what the next generation is going to look like? Right. You know,
where it's going to come from.
Where it's going to come from of new musicians, new artists. We're not going to have it. So we have maybe 10, 20 more years of fixing our issue. And if we don't, we're going to be in problem. Because the ones before this generation, you know, they tired. They fed up. Yeah. They're not pushing themselves like they used to. They're like, man, look, this thing is not really working out. You know, and they're good. They're really good, you know, because they're not being respected on a level because of the overall view of the country, Guyana. You know, we're not up there yet, but that's my fear, is that we're not going to have the next generation coming up to take place. In America and other parts of the world, once a parent is doing certain thing professionally, chances are their kids would follow suit.
Sure.
You know? Sure. So, because they see the gain in being a part of a certain business or a certain thing. So, our culture, musically, we're not having that. And it hurts me.
Wow.
You know? It hurts me. So, the next generation, I am working extra hard, strategically, to make way for the generations to come.
Wow. That's deep.
You know, it's and it's just like animals. Yeah. Here you can only hunt them a certain season. Right. You know, if you hunt them throughout the year, eventually, even if it takes 15, 20, 30 years, they're going extinct. Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. How can folks get in contact with you? And if somebody wants to collaborate with you, an artist, whatever, designer, whatever, how can they reach out to you?
DEMROC Clothing on Instagram, DEMROC Music on Instagram, DEMROC Music Awards on Instagram. Same thing on Facebook, right? Send me a message on Facebook or Instagram,
and you're good to go.
Good to go.
I'm sure DEMROC is trademark. I'm sure it's
you know,
just in case anybody have any ideas.
I mean, it's going on 18 years since I've had my brand. So
but you'd be surprised. People have stuff and don't do the paperwork for it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you'd be surprised.
You know, so some people just brazen, you know. Yeah. But they won't get far. They won't get far.
Man, let me tell you, man, like I said, I admire your work, I admire what you're doing, I admire what you're doing in the community. I follow you over the years, you know, your stuff is clean. That's what I like. You know, your designs are clean. Your website is well laid out. Thank you, and stuff like that. So, you know, I admire what you're doing. And thank you.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate you much. I admire the way that you conduct yourself.
I appreciate that as well.
In public and when you on your social media, you know. And I am. That's the type of energy that I like. You know, the type of energy. So, you know, once we can, you know, have a community of men, doesn't necessarily mean the nationality or the race. Men that is willing, ready, and able to keep pushing and keep protecting, you know, the current generation and the generation to come. You know, this what you're doing here, you know, because you see the vision, you see the sense. It's not only for content, but, you know, like I said, we've been planning this for a long time.
A couple of years.
But COVID and all that stuff happened, you know. And I admire that, and I appreciate you.
As Black Caribbean men, we need to lift up each other, and I really feel strongly about that.
Yeah, you know, there's so many things that I can get into. Why we experiencing certain things. Our parents. And I'm talking about in the 40s and the 50s and all that stuff. They went through a stage where they didn't know better.
Correct.
You know, there were no guidance.
Correct.
Learning how to love and hugs and kisses and saying I love you. Those were not in the household. So when you grow up, not experiencing that and you get your own family, that's something you have to learn. Hopefully your spouse experience it so that it can, you know, rub off on you. So a lot of things that we might learn now, we learn it at a later age. Some men don't ever experience that. So because of not experiencing what love feels like and what love's supposed to be, then when you come in contact with people like me and you, they're intimidated and they don't know how to express themselves. They might want to be better, but they don't know how to come and say, yo, show me how to do this.
You're right.
They're not going to do that. They're going to try to figure it out, and they're going to become frustrated. And people like me and you make it look easy.
And they'll give up.
And they're going to give up and continue to hate.
Correct.
And because of that happening, it becomes a trickle-down effect, especially if you have a group of guys that share the same kind of, you know, feelings, like yo, they gonna gang up and say, yo, Rico always this, and you always at every party taking pictures. Why these promoters don't hire this other person?
I've experienced that. So I know I can identify exactly what you're talking about. You know, but it's sad, but you know, I basically don't let that bother me. I put tunnel vision on.
Correct.
And I try to align myself with like-minded people.
Yeah.
You know, because again, you know, if you align yourself with those folks, then you will not go anywhere. So
it's as simple as that. Protect the mind.
Yeah.
And you know, everything else with the body and the way that you think, you're gonna function much better.
Absolutely.
You know, negativity is gonna breed, you know,
negativity.
You're gonna be miserable. Yeah. You're gonna do all manner of things. I mean, the awards that I did, the last awards, the amount of negative energy that came towards me was unbelievable. But thank God I was able to tune it out.
And
I dealt with it afterwards. You know, I dealt with it afterwards. I mean, the list is long with, you know, with the things that that was said towards me. And you would think that identifying that we have an issue in our culture, in our music culture, that it needs such special attention, you would think that these guys would say, you know what, hey, let me hold hands and let's do this.
Unfortunately not.
You know, but unfortunately our culture is, if it's not me, it's not you.
Yeah.
You know, if I can't do it, you're not doing it.
You're not doing it.
You know, so we in bad shape. You know, as much as I love my country, there's a lot of things that we've been sweeping under the rug for many, many years. That's why it's still in the atmosphere. And I wouldn't have said this, you know, that we in bad shape many years ago, because I was at the type to, like, you know what, man, look, I ain't gonna say certain things because I don't want to start certain things, you know, but I got to the point where you have to say certain things. You have to talk about it.
Yeah, you have to be exposed.
You have to talk about it, you know. Yeah. And the more I do that, I do a lot of lives too, where I bring, you know, big guys in the industry to talk to our guys, you know, and a lot of them, you know, embrace it, and some of them just don't care. Even the big ones, the guys that's been in the industry for a while, you know, they just choose to, you know, come down with me
because they're comfortable. You know, it's not a challenge for them.
You know, you know, and the other thing is, our culture is not a competitive one. The reason why I know that is because I've done multiple projects where I try to get artists involved, and some of them feel like I don't want, especially like the awards, the last one artist was like, you know, I'm not gonna come be a nominee on the awards because I don't want nobody telling me that somebody is better than me.
Wow.
You know, I don't want nobody tell me that somebody is better than me.
Wow.
So basically, they're saying that I am good, and even though I know I'm good, I know there's a possibility of someone else being better than me, but I'm not going to expose myself to that.
Jesus.
You know? So there's so many things that's in the air that I try to cover all my lives. But, you know, being in a different setting, in a different culture, because you're not Guyanese,
right.
You know? So I just want the word to get out that Guyana music culture is growing, but we need a lot of help and support. Yeah. And the artists themselves, it needs to start with the artists. Them actually believing that we can get this done. You know, I'm not the enemy. Like understanding that and find that DEMROC is not the enemy. He is for us. You know, and I stopped trying to convince people that I'm for you, and I just, like I said, tunnel vision, and I keep moving. And this year's DEMROC Music and Entertainment Award, it's going to break a lot of barriers, and it's gonna, I don't want to say too much, but it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing.
All right. Well, you know what? When the store opens, the new store, I'd like to come there and do another interview.
Yes.
In the location.
Yes, sir.
And just expose the location to the folks as well, because I know you know your store is just like, it's like on West 4th Street in Manhattan or something. You know, it's like it stands out. It's like a diamond in a, you know what I'm saying, in the rough. So I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you so much.
All right. And there you have it, folks. DEMROC Clothing right here on Take 5. We'll catch you next time on another edition of Take 5.
This episode of Take 5 with RICOVIBES is brought to you by...
It's a 2023 DEMROC Music Awards. Let's go.
So much to be thankful for. Sometimes you have a lot, it means less. Another time just a little, it means more.
My whole life changed from me to no father. I present it to me daughter. I'm so blessed. Give you my love if you want, boy. Give you my heart if you need to. None of father, so I am lessons on me. Blessed and humble, always clean.
But Jesus, tell me how you see it, come and free us.
I'll worship you truly, truly. Baby, I love you forever.
To risk it all for you, all for you.
Hey boy, no you're not ready yet. Mash it up, but the thing will navigate.
What them wish Matty Queen can lose it. Carry my name like a them a my surrogate. Hey,
jamming all night, party all night.
Never wanna say goodbye, baby girl, and you be happy come back to. The road you're rough in a dark, the amount of fight we then give away, but we still a go hard. You come, she come back to you with a us. Miss Crippy, your special love will keep me going. You put me, I go prove them wrong and show them just who I am. Nowadays everybody just the whole place just
all the woman them. Well, I think man.
It's a life for you, we your damn boss. Your bad mind thing, we not too end that.
B.O.B. Come find your happiness with me,
But yeah, been for me. Top freak, girl, I got bring a friend for me.
Choose your love, make a me tall and skinny calling for me. Girls keep calling for me.